Hey guys, in this video we'll talk about linear equations. What are linear equations in one variable? What are linear equations in two variable? And how do we plot a linear equation using slope intercept form? What are the different systems of equations? And then we'll talk about how to plot equations using Python. Okay then, let's get started. Now look at this equation. You can tell that it's an equation because it equates to an expression. The expression on the left hand side equals to the expression on the right hand side. Now in this case, there is a variable called x and it has a coefficient called that is 2 and it also has a constant 4. Now there are two ways in which we can solve this equation. In the first way, we'll multiply and subtract the same values from the both sides. So to solve this equation, we will use 2x plus 4 minus 4 equals to 10 minus 4. Okay, then we have 2x equals to 6 and then we divide both sides by 2. So we divide both sides by 2. So we have x equals to 3. Now to verify whether our answer is correct, we'll put this value back in this equation. 2 multiplied by 3 plus 4 should be equals to 10. So we get the correct answer. Now there is one more method, that is by moving the variables between the equation. So what we can do is we can move the variables. So what we can do is 2x plus 4 equals to 10. We can move 2x equals to 10 minus 4 and the plus becomes the minus and this coefficient will be dividing this thing. So 10 minus 4 divided by 2. So we get x equals to 10 minus 4 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So these are the two ways in which you can solve the linear equation. Now there are different kind of linear equation. This is a linear equation in one variable. We also have a linear equation in two variables. So a linear equation in two variable we can write like this: 2x plus 4y equals to 10. And if we say the linear equation three variable, then it will become 2x plus 4y plus let's say 6z equals to 10. So like this, we have a linear equation in three variables. Now let's take an example of linear equation in two variables. Some equation contain two variables. Let's say we have 2x plus y equals to 5. Now we can't determine the definite values of both, but we can solve the equation for one variable. In a sense, we can find out how to calculate with respect to one another. So we'll create a chart and we'll put the values of these variables in this chart. And let's assume y and x. When y equals to 0, then the x will be 2.5. When x is 0, then y will be 5. Now using these values, we can plot a line. This is called the slope intercept form, which is equal to y equals to mx plus b. This is the slope intercept form of a linear equation, which is called y equals to mx plus b. Um, the m is the slope of the line. Here it is 2. So we will plot this graph. So when x is 2.5, y is 0. So we have 1, 2, 3. X is 2.5, y is 0. When y is 0, when y is 0, x is 2.5. And when x is 0, y is 5. Now we can plot this line using these 2 points. Now this is the equation. This is the line that we got from this equation. Now all the values in this line will hold true for this equation. We just talked about linear equation in two variables. Now we can have a system of equation in which we can have multiple variables called polynomials. The polynomials is also an algebraic expression which can have constant variables and coefficient. Let's say we can have a constant, we can have a variable, we can have one more variable, we can have one more variable, and that can be a quadratic variable. Now this is one polynomial. Similarly, we can have different polynomials depending upon the type of function that we want to calculate. Okay, so now we know what a slope intercept and a linear equation is. Now let's jump into our Jupyter exercises and plot a slope intercept for an equation. For this, we'll download our required libraries, we'll import NumPy and Matplotlib. So we have already discussed about these libraries in our previous tutorials. If you don't have those links, just click on the playlist and you would be able to reach those tutorials. In this, we'll first create a figure and we'll add a subplot to this figure. Now we'll create our x data, which is the line space from minus 10 to 10 and with having 1,000 points between those lines. Now we'll create the spines of our coordinates. So we'll create left, right, bottom and top spines. We'll set the position of all these spines to center. And we get our basic graph. Now we can plot our data to this graph. Now let's create our first equation, which is a simple linear equation. And we'll put the label as the signature of the equation. Now we'll run this cell and we get some small issues. We'll just resolve them quickly. We'll update the legend to upper left and we run again and we get our first equation. So our first equation is a straight line and which satisfies the condition y equals to 2x plus 1. Similarly, we can plot another graph in the same plot. And to differentiate, we'll change the color. Now we have two lines in the same figure and both are a linear equation that satisfy the above condition. So guys, this was all about linear equation. I hope you will try the hands-on in the Jupyter notebook and we'll meet again in the next video in which we'll talk about functions.